In the borderland and around the world, mourners are remembering the Divo of Juarez. Juan Gabriel died Sunday morning. This is video of his last concert in Los Angeles on Friday. He was set to perform Sunday night at the Don Haskins Center here in El Paso. Juan Gabriel was an emotional crooner and an icon of strength, selling a reported 100 million records over a career spanning decades. Officials say he died from a heart attack. He was 66 years old. And joining us now is Dr. Oscar Aguilar. He's a local cardiologist at El Paso Heart Center. Thank you so much for joining us, Doctor.
Thank you very much for having me here.
So reports are saying Juan Gabriel died of a heart attack at the age of 66.
Correct.
Now, heart disease and heart attacks, they can happen to anybody at all ages, correct? I mean, I know he was 66, which is a little bit, on the older end, but talk about that and who's susceptible of getting these?
Well, first of all, heart attacks is the #1 cause of death in the United States and in Mexico and actually around the world. And it can happen to anyone, and it's important to remember that it takes decades, 3-4 decades, meaning 30-40 years for that to develop. So somebody that developed a heart attack at 65 or 66, like Juan Gabriel's case, means that he had heart disease since he was 15, 18, or 20, meaning he had some little plaques in the heart vessels that were growing up slowly, and at some point, one of those broke and then created a heart attack. And depends where the plaque ruptured. If it's higher up, let's say that it's arteries are like a tree. If they break in a big vessel, then the problem is huge. They can create big problems like a sudden cardiac death, which sounds more like what he had. If it's in a smaller vessel, then the damage is less than that, and people, tend to survive.
Okay, and for viewers watching this afternoon, what are some symptoms they can be aware of? So if they, they realize that they might be having these symptoms, they should go to their local doctor.
If we wait for the symptoms, and that's a very important message, it's too late. Like Juan Gabriel, somebody saying that he was holding off into a chair, sitting down. He looked short of breath. And I used to go to pretty much all of his concerts, and lately for the last 4 years or so, he looked short of breath when he was singing and dancing. So that's a major sign. So it means that if we would have done a test, very simple, very cheap test on him 8 years back, we could have said that he was going to have a heart attack 3, 4, 5, 8 years down the road. You cannot be precise on how long, but it's going to happen. So then act on those things before they strike.
You said short of breath was one of the symptoms.
Short of breath is actually very important in females.
Okay.
But again, we don't want to wait for those symptoms to attack. You pretty much want to go and check yourself. If we do a carotid intima media thickness, we do a calcium score, which we do those in El Paso, you can find out if you or me or anyone else have some early on heart disease that may get us 8-10 years down the road, and start doing something about it right now. And a heart attack is 99%, if not to say 100%, preventable.
And what can men and women do to prevent this from happening? Eating healthy, sleeping habits, working out, what can they do?
We tend to say 5 things. One is a very healthy nutrition. That's a long, topic. We can talk about that some other day. Then, of course, exercise depends on your age. Minor amounts of exercise. People, when they hear exercise, they think that they need to be marathon runners. That's way beyond what is expected. Walking 1 hour a day is plenty for anyone. Sometimes medications are needed. Some supplements and vitamins, very few have data to help that. And mind. Stress nowadays is huge. Having a very relaxed mind, relaxation, yoga. Yoga actually has shown to prevent heart attacks by 40% when it's well done. So covering those 5 things is what we need to do, all of us. If you just hang your hat on 1 or 2, it's not going to be enough.
Okay, and we'll have those 5 tips on KVIA.com after this newscast. Dr. Aguilar, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you, my pleasure.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this quick commercial break.